Cheers. Hi, welcome to the Knots YouTube channel.
We're gonna show you how to survive the wedding budget. My name is Lucia Enamorado.
My name is Charles Enamorado.
Our last name is Enamorado, which means in love.
In a span of 10 months, we made a destination wedding in Tennessee happen, starting with an initial budget of $15,000. From there, then we had to jump to $40,000. But to finalize everything, we ended up with a budget of $60,000. We got married in Chattanooga in Tennessee.
We found it very meaningful because Tennessee is like a second home to us. What best place to get married than the place that we want to start a future and move to together eventually. We did have certain things that we for sure wanted in the wedding. From the very beginning, it was the venue, the photographer, videographer, and food.
Those were some things that were really important to us, and we were okay stretching the budget for that.
Everything else we can kind of figure out. What we can DIY, we can DIY. First proposal, $40,000. We're like, great, this is not the venue.
I mean, what was that like to get that information thrown at you like that?
I think it was a little bit disheartening at first because they're like, okay, that's very large from what we were expecting.
It was definitely a shock to see, okay, 15,000 and now just venue is 40. How about, food? How about all the decorations? And you start kind of thinking, going through that list of, okay, it's probably not gonna be 15,000. We're gonna still try our best, but probably we'll go over that at that point.
I think it was just kind of a wake-up call of where everything stands in the wedding industry. I told him, like, look, I'm fine getting married with just us, our family, closest friends, if anything. But then he's like, no, I have to give it to you. Like, we'll figure this out one way or another.
That kind of my viewpoint on that. She missed a lot of important events in her life because of her health in the past. I'm like, the least we can do is give you, we can do this wedding, I don't want it just to be like another, okay, I got married and let's move on.
This whole wedding in general was something I didn't necessarily think I would reach in my life. At the age of 4 years old, I was diagnosed with a chronic kidney condition. At the age of 12, they just started getting worse. At that point, at the age of 15, I was swollen. I had gained 30 pounds of liquid. Doctors didn't know what to do with me anymore. I got on the kidney transplant list. The doctors told my mom, look, we don't even know if your daughter's gonna make it. So being able to make it to the wedding and defy odds, defy what doctors have told me, it's truly been a blessing. I would say weddings put a lot of stress on that relationship where it can, potentially make it or break it, I would like to say. So I think the most important thing is to have that communication with your partner. Get your budget, focus on the most important aspects that mean the both to you. Like, for example, I may have wanted the photographer, but he prefers the food. Okay, let's find a compromise of how much we can possibly spend for each, and we'll both get what we want without making him feel left out or making myself feel left out. The main reason we didn't get married in Miami was because everything in Miami is overpriced. It's way too hot. You don't know what to expect with the weather.
So we flew out to Tennessee and the Georgia area, in which we kind of had seen some of those venues via video, but we wanted to see them in person as well.
We went to a venue that we saw, and the venue itself was $10,000. It included tables, chairs, decorations. They had a whole decoration room, the bridal suite, access from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. And I was like, okay, it's a little bit hefty, but when I walked in, I started crying. After seeing maybe 15, 20 venues, and he was like, let's sign today.
I'll never forget that. Opened the doors and he just walks in and I see her crying and I'm like, okay, this is the one.
I grew up in a family where we always went to theme parks every year. Any opportunity we got, we'd go out to restaurants. We were very, I would say, loose with our money. So it was just, life was too short. And then he came along.
So that's actually was one of our initial, bigger differences. We were both extremes. She was very loose and I was really tight. So I grew up in a, more budgety household where you would think of what you're spending before you actually would spend it.
We both took from each other's side, so I started kind of being more responsible with my money, and then he started kind of being more free with it, so we found like a healthy, I would say, balance of it. I think through the process, I was going through it for a period of time,
Yeah,
and he was trying to calm me down, like, we got this, we'll figure it out, there's nothing to worry about, like, we've checked absolutely everything. There's still that doubt, it's like, I'm spending this much money when I can be putting it towards a car, when I can be putting it towards a house.
I remember her being really worried, really worried about the money situation, which is ironic because I'm the one that is the budget. We don't have to, we gotta prepare and plan. So I was kind of calming her. It helps that I have a banking background, so I kind of knew where, if I needed to grab some extra funds here and there, I knew how to come up with it.
So there's two main things that took a good chunk of the budget at the beginning. It was the venue, which was $10,000, and then a videographer. This specific videographer, I had been following him for years, and I was like, when I get married, this guy's gonna come film the wedding. I was like, if this guy's not available for that date, I am changing this whole wedding because it's not happening without him. And he's like, no, we gotta look at other videographers. I'm like, okay, we'll look at other videographers that were cheaper.
He's almost sounding better and more important than the husband than this one. Because I did look into other options because the guy was expensive. It was like, what, 5,000?
Yeah, almost 6.
Almost 6. And I mean, if you think about like a budget, when you have the venue and just the videographer being almost 50% of what you're planning to be, you're already in trouble because you still have so many other things to cover.
I think the videographer was almost the same price as the food.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. You actually took a trip for food in specific. That was a challenge from the destination wedding. Since we didn't have anything local, we had to plan it out in a way because if we kept going, flying there, flying back, flying there, flying back, it would have been a lot of money just in travel. So props to you till this day. She did pretty much like a schedule in a way for the different days, and it worked out amazingly well.
We took a trip for food, 3 different places for food, desserts, 3 different places for desserts, 3 different hair trials, and 2 different makeups. So we took advantage of that whole trip to just knock those things down because yes, we can book them, but if we don't know how they taste like, I'm gonna suffer at my wedding. So it was a lot of using the knot, reading the reviews that they had, getting in communication with them through the knot. We spent our most money, first of all, on the venue, which was $10,000, on the videographer after, which was about $6,000. Food was about $6,000 as well. And then after that, our live wedding painter, which I think was about $3,500 to $4,000.
At the end of the day, that day of the wedding is a reflection of both couples of what their perfect day will look like. It was honestly awesome to see kind of how the pieces were like slowly falling together throughout the process. And then the day of the wedding, like that morning, seeing the vendors starting coming in, I'm like, wow, this is real now. Like all this prep throughout like all those months, and now seeing it like tangible. It was awesome to see, to be honest.
The whole day, I think I was so in shock that it was actually happening. I've been told I wasn't gonna survive past 15, and then being able to marry the man that I love, 8 years later, it's like, am I dreaming? Like, is this reality? Like, what's going on? We weren't the type of people to necessarily, let's say, save, but then that taught us that if we actually set our mind to it, then we can save, especially quite a bit in a short amount of time. We just have to set our minds to it.
Yeah, it's crazy to see. When you start cutting down your expenses, you're like, wow, I do spend a lot on a monthly basis, and this is what I could actually, put aside if I put my mind into it, if you have like a visual to it. So yeah, that was a learning experience, and we're a little bit more mindful on like where we put the money and where we spend it.
Hi, Mom. We wanted to ask you some questions. What did the wedding mean to you?
Un sueño que visualicé siempre, hecho realidad, y una bendición cumplida.
What was your favorite moment?
Cuando vi, cuando se estaban diciendo sus votos y jurando y prometiéndose uno al otro que van a amarse el resto de su vida y ver ese amor que brillaba en sus ojos. Siempre lo vi desde el primer momento en que entró a nuestro hogar, el hombre que siempre soñé para ti, ese hombre lleno de amor, un hombre responsable, un hombre comprometido, que ese es el hombre que siempre soñé para mi hija y vi un sueño cumplido, ver ese hombre a tu lado.
I wanted our wedding to be memorable, and I think we nailed it. You know, we're still talking about the wedding to this day. We still have people talking about the wedding to this day, talking about the painting, the music, the food. I don't regret anything. I keep looking back at the wedding. If I can go back to the day every single time I remember it, I would. So yes, we spent money, but it was for great memories.
I guess if you look at it from like an outside perspective, you're like, wow, you went what is that, over 200% your budget? But we don't regret a single penny that we spent on that day.